आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now it's time for the nation's sharpest opinion, and the important point for us to realize, and I've always said this, I say this to everyone, I say this to the government as well. I say this to all the people of our great nation. Remember, every morning you wake up and every morning you go to sleep. Remember, we are on our own. Remember this, people of India, that no country in the world is completely on our side, not even largely or partially on our side. This is the necessary encumbrance and situation resulting from being a growing power in the world and the next superpower. And as we grow, not just in economic scale, from 4 to 15 to 20 to 30 trillion, in military scale, in terms of being a soft power in the world, no nation will be on our side. Russia will not be on our side. Don't fool ourselves with the posters that are being put out by Russia today ahead of Putin's visit to New Delhi. Putin wants to do business with India. Russia is not on our side. America is not on our side. They are dragging the trade talks. They've done everything possible to use every leverage against national interest of India. America is not on our side. And China, I can tell you this in writing, and I know there is a concerted attempt by the government of India to improve the relationship with China. And the government may not like me saying this, but China is not on our side. China is only on China's side, ladies and gentlemen. And this fact, the fact that China has an inherent dislike for India, maybe out of a competitive instinct, maybe out of realizing that Asia's destiny will have to be a shared destiny and not a destiny of one nation. Also realizing that India is no longer a middle-level nation. India is a great nation, ladies and gentlemen. And that all their support for Pakistan could not counterbalance the Indian armed forces during Operation Sindoor. All of this has emerged in the case which has led to this statement by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, who has said that we do not recognize the Arunachal Pradesh illegally set up by India. Why is China taking this kind of an angry position? Why is China trying to aggravate the situation with India? Let me tell you a story. And the protagonist at the heart of this story will be joining me on the debate, a lady called Pema Thongdok. She is a presently UK-based Indian citizen. She holds an Indian passport. She's from Arunachal Pradesh. She was traveling from London, I think, to Japan. And there was a transit through somewhere in China when immigration officials in China flagged her passport as invalid because it listed Arunachal Pradesh as her birthplace. Now, this was absolutely well planned. It is impossible that an individual, an Indian passport holder from Arunachal Pradesh, is held and harassed by immigration authorities who try to browbeat her, saying, "You are Chinese." She says, "No, I am Indian." No, you are Chinese. You should apply for a Chinese passport. Why would the Chinese do that? This has happened, I'm sure, under direct instructions from the intelligence agencies of China, with an attempt to hold leverage over India. Because their statement, as a result of this, we issued a Demarche. Our MEA complained. The lady in question raised the issue on social media. The Ministry of External Affairs got activated. They complained to the Chinese that, "What are you doing? Why are you troubling? Why are you troubling an Indian passport holder?" As a result of that, the Chinese could have been quiet about it. Or even if they didn't like being told off by the Indians, could have left this as an isolated incident. But no, they chose to use the opportunity once again to release this statement that we have not recognized so-called Arunachal Pradesh. Well, let me tell you, Xi Jinping, I don't know the mistakes of all the previous people who've held governments in our country, but we also don't recognize your so-called South Tibet. It is Arunachal Pradesh. And I don't know how clearly our government says it, but let me say this: no international aviation, passport or immigration system has ever recognized or will ever recognize China's claims over Arunachal Pradesh. No global database flags Indian passports with Arunachal Pradesh as invalid. The fact is, China is grappling America. And when Xi met Modi at the SCO in August, Beijing welcomed the international optics. It was convenient for them at that time. Just a couple of months ago, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping met for a bilateral conversation on the sidelines of the SCO, in a symbolic gesture, the Prime Minister had invited Xi Jinping to attend the upcoming BRICS summit in India. But today's statement by the Chinese is completely contradictory to the sentiment that we hoped would be the sentiment that Chinese would reciprocate. China can't claim border peace while humiliating Indian citizens and calling them Chinese. And I am horrified, and you should be too, that the Chinese government has decided at the highest level to humiliate Indian citizens by calling them Chinese. And I am saying one more thing. I've heard so many stories of how badly behaved Chinese immigration officials are with Indian businessmen, Indian professionals traveling to China. Why? By doing so, China demeans its own civilization. Today, if the entire government of Xi Jinping wants to target an Indian woman because she's traveling through China, harasses her, then Mr. Xi Jinping, what are you doing? Is this your foreign policy pattern? Then India will never trust you. We cannot work with a nation that harasses our citizens. Global cooperation has to be on both sides. And if the Chinese government has decided to go a little hammer and tongs on India, we should not hesitate to hit back. In the present times, as we grow geopolitically, our success will be determined not by shaking hands, but by pulling back when needed. The Chinese must understand the people of India are watching. And this position of theirs, their decision to trouble an individual Indian citizen, to harass an Indian woman, clearly on the instructions of Beijing, is not uncomfortable for us. It is unacceptable for the world's most populous nation. Here it is.
Tianjin 2025, a handshake with Xi Jinping. India felt would be a new start for Delhi and Beijing. But these pictures and the gains made in August and September this year at the SCO summit has been destroyed by China as it raked up Arunachal Pradesh in the most unforgivable manner by detaining Pema Thingdok, an Indian citizen from Arunachal Pradesh.
There was a transit for my flight between London to Japan in China, in Shanghai, and I had successfully passed the E-gates, moving on to the security gates when one of the immigration officers singled me out of the queue and asked me to follow her, basically not giving a proper explanation. Then she took me next to the E-gates where there is the immigration, manual immigration counter, and she pointed at Arunachal on my passport and says, it's not valid, not valid for India, Indian passport not valid. So that was quite a confusing moment for me because obviously I have traveled, I'm a frequent traveler, and I have used my Indian passport almost everywhere else and without any issues. Then another immigration officer came over and she basically took me from, I think, one part of the airport to the other. And even in the shuttle, which takes you from that part of the terminal to the other, she was just very unruly and unprofessional and almost screaming and saying things like, no, your passport is not valid. If you really want to transfer, then apply for a Chinese passport, almost like a mock, because obviously in 3 hours I cannot apply for a Chinese passport, and why would I do so? Because I'm an Indian citizen, I'm not.
India has responded in a strong manner, issuing a demarche with the Chinese side in Beijing and in Delhi on the same day the incident took place with Pema, adding that the provocation was coming at a time when both sides are working on restoring normalcy. Such actions by the Chinese side introducing unnecessary obstructions to the process. Beijing, though, when questioned, was adamant.
First of all, Zangnan is China's territory. China never acknowledges the so-called Arunachal Pradesh, illegally set up by India. As for the individual case you mentioned, we've learned that during the whole process, China's border inspection authorities have gone through the whole process in accordance with laws and regulations and had just enforcement and fully protected the lawful rights and interests of the person concerned. There's no so-called compulsory measures, detainment or harassment. The airlines also provided a place for rest, drinking and food for the person concerned. For specifics, I'd refer you to competent.
Has China's assertion on Arunachal in its response erased all gains made in the last few months? Let's debate.
Okay, I have with me this evening Prema Thongdok, who was deliberately targeted by the Chinese government and held in Chennai. What a shame. And she was troubled. She is a proud Indian citizen. I want to have everyone on the screen. She is a proud Indian citizen from the great state of Arunachal Pradesh. Right? And we are standing with her tonight. I would like to say that it is shameful, when beyond shameful, for a government to target an individual, a lady traveling through Shanghai, who is a proud Indian citizen, and tell her that you must apply for a Chinese passport. What if we catch a few Chinese and ask them to apply for an Indian passport? We won't, because that's not the way we are. But this is terrible, and it's very petty, isn't it? Very petty, I would like to say. Tonight, before I go to General Bakshi and Saurabh Shukla and Ainar Tangen, I would like to go across to Prema. Prema, we are all very sorry for what you've been through. How are you now? Tonight, before I go to General
Okay, thank you very much. When the Indian officials finally came to the Shanghai airport, they tried to reason with them. They tried to say that, on what grounds, and the same question that I put forth to the immigration officer and to the China Eastern staff, that on what grounds are you holding my passport and not letting me go on my onward journey? They did not have any written document. There isn't any law. I've never heard of Arunachal Pradesh being part of China, so it's quite a confusing statement and a claim coming from the Chinese authorities to say that my Indian passport is invalid. But after 18-hour ordeal, I took basically a flight. I had to show them, actually forcibly, I had to only buy China Eastern Airline. They wouldn't allow me to fly out with any other airline, which is, again, quite questionable, because in the first instance, when China Eastern boarded me in the flight from London to Shanghai, if this was a rule, that Indians born in Arunachal Pradesh should not be considered Indian, but in fact Chinese, why did they let me board the plane in the first instance if this is a law? Because to me,
no, this was a Prema, can I tell you this? My view is very clear. I'm sure Saurabh will agree with me. This is a classic petty intelligence operation by the Chinese. They have been tracking you quite clearly, and they have deliberately tracked you knowing that you are from Arunachal Pradesh. And it's a typical petty Chinese tactic to make something into an incident. So you're sort of caught in a situation for which you have no responsibility. It is the government of China, I think, Saurabh, which has tried to use Prema as cannon fodder.
As a collateral.
As collateral. Do you think that is the case? What do you read, Saurabh?
You know, Arnab, I see in diplomacy and statecraft, and when it comes to Chinese, timing matters a lot. They have seen Prime Minister Narendra Modi's excellent visit to G20, the leadership dialogues that he has with so many global leaders. Obviously, Chinese are feeling rattled. Pema has become, I would say, a collateral here, but this was a well-thought design because one is holding her, raking up the Arunachal Pradesh issue once again, and then making sure that their statement coming out of the Foreign Office spokesperson reiterates that. That's clearly a message to India that they're trying to test our resolve. And here on, it's very clear it's the Chinese classic way. On one hand, they try to offer a hand of friendship. On the other, they backstab you. So clearly, I think the government of India at the highest level, including the Prime Minister, has to realize that China cannot be your friend. We have to manage this relationship, but on our own resolve, on our own terms. And this is unacceptable at a time when India has just restarted flights to China. In fact, the direct flights to China have just resumed. This kind of incident should come as a warning, and we should issue an advisory to all our travelers that Chinese can repeat this kind of a thing. Because to Pema's credit, she had a determination, and plus our consulate acted swiftly. But in many cases, some of the passengers may not get that.
I want to ask Prema again. Prema,
Yes, sir.
can you detail out your experience in a little bit more, specific terms? When did you get off the flight? Was it at Shanghai airport? At what point did they accost you? How many people were around you? Did they sort of physically restrain you into one place?
I wouldn't say physically restrain me to one place, but one area, definitely, because I could not get access to food or to go and buy myself some food after, being kept near the transfer desk without any proper documentation or law to say that my Indian passport is invalid. And strangely enough, the most interesting part of all of this is I actually transited through the exact same airport, Shanghai Pudong Airport, exactly 1 year ago on the 16th of October. And that was my first time transiting through China. So being diligent, and obviously I actually work in financial services advising billion-dollar firms on regulation. So I'm well aware, and that's my day-to-day job. So I made sure that I checked with the Chinese embassy in London the first time around to ask, will I have any issues? Can I transit through China? And they said, of course, there shouldn't be any issue because you're not transiting for more than 24 hours. Everyone is allowed to transit within a certain span of time. And my transit was only about 2 to 4 hours the last time around. And similarly now. So it's quite confusing that why on one hand your embassy says that you don't have any issues, why the Chinese Eastern airline at the time of check-in looked at my passport, issued me boarding pass with no objections to Arunachal being my birthplace.
No, I think that this is
further on.
Yeah, I think this is, again, Prema, more I speak to you, it's obviously that you've been caught as cannon fodder. How pitiable for the Chinese to behave like this, Ainar, isn't it? I mean, you feel almost sorry. You feel almost sorry for the Chinese that they have to pick on a very, very competent professional who's advising billion-dollar firms, and you obviously picked on the wrong person because she knows how to fight for herself. And you must remember, Ainar, that Indians fight for each other very hard. As you learned when we gave you a bloody nose in Doklam, messing around with Indians is not good, and it is also unnecessary. You see, because we have been very generous with you. We've been very nice with you, and this followed by the statement of your foreign ministry makes it look orchestrated and rehearsed. No, this is orchestrated and rehearsed, Ainar. It's
No, it wasn't.
orchestrated
You know,
and rehearsed.
Do you want to just pontificate? First off, your booker didn't tell me that this was the issue. I thought we were going to be talking about Japan. In terms of this lady, I feel very sorry for her. Obviously, she was embroiled in something else. I do not know why they did this. I would be upset if I were in her
It's not a question of being upset. You have no rationalization for what happened.
Don't tell
Whatever.
me what
you know
I'm
the facts
thinking.
of the case now,
Please
Einar.
do not tell me what I'm thinking.
You know
If
the facts
want
of
me
the
on
case
show,
now, Einar.
No, I know the facts as you tell them, and you're trying to
you realize they're
sensationalize this.
unjustifiable.
There's no question about this. In terms of
And you
what
realize
would
you
be
cannot
gained
justify
by
them.
this, can you tell me what is gained by this?
I don't
Right,
know
as
what
far as I
China
can
gains
see,
by this. You
is
tell
an
me what China
aberration.
gains by this.
Well, this is the whole point. I don't think that China gains as far as this idea that somehow China is envious of.
No, but what did
happened
you
at the
gain by
G20?
making this an issue and then
If
issuing a
you-
foreign policy
you-
statement within the next 18 hours?
First
It looks
off,
rehearsed.
Arnab, you know I'm American. I do not represent the Chinese
Now you
government.
can't. Now you know
asked
you've
me
always
to
taken a
comment about
pro-China
Chinese
line while being an
matters.
American. You may be technically American. You're as Chinese as they come.
Well,
and nothing
and-
wrong with
if
that.
you
But why
accuse
did
me of
your
lying,
government
then
pick
you
on
can go to
this
hell.
lady?
There's no. I'm not.
Why
picking
did
on
your
that lady.
government pick
You're an
on
idiot.
Pema Thongtok? He has run away from my program. And this is the problem. You see, General Bakshi, the moment you corner them, the moment you speak better than them, your arguments are better than them, Andrew K.P. Leung is smiling because he's seen many people run away from my program. Andrew, I hope you're not going to do that. This is an escalation, Andrew, because it was followed. I wouldn't have said yesterday it was an escalation. I would have perhaps been forgiving, Andrew, and I would have said maybe a stupid Chinese immigration official tried to pick on Prema. But after the statement of the Foreign Ministry, I don't think so.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Well, this is actually an unfortunate incident. It's nothing against the individual. It is that the maybe her visa bears, of course, Arunachal Pradesh, which of course is a.
It's not a visa, it's a passport. Hello. Hello.
No,
Get your facts clear. Get your facts clear. She's an Indian national. You messed up.
Well, please allow me time to say what I want to say.
Yeah, but don't call an Indian passport a visa.
No,
Get your facts right.
Invite me on the program. Okay, your passport.
I'll give you a staple Chinese visa myself.
Arunachal Pradesh is a very, very sensitive issue for China. Don't forget the history of the of that place. If you Google, if you look at history, it was
no international aviation passport or immigration has recognized any Chinese claim over Arunachal. What are you talking about?
Time, I'll get off. Okay?
What do you mean get off? Just because I ask you two straight questions, you're trying to show your temper on me. I'm keeping my cool about the way your government has behaved with an Indian national.
Stopped this so many times. I'll just log off.
What happened to your composure?
Have you on your station anymore? Give me time. Show some respect.
Yeah,
to
you
your
messed
guests.
up. Don't say don't say visa. It's a passport.
All right.
Get your facts right, Andrew. I'm just being nice to you.
Well, please calm down.
You calm down yourself.
You are the anchor, okay?
Yeah, I am
Now,
the anchor, and I'm calming you down.
Arunachal Pradesh is a very, very critical issue for China. Whoever holds, unfortunate for this individual, because if you look at history, it was created
What history?
by British India.
What
It was
history?
created by British India.
What history?
Invaded,
No
China
global
at that
database
time.
recognizes
And
all
he-
your
and-
ridiculous claims.
And then at that
General
time,
Bakshi, he must give it
China
back now
was
to
not
this guy.
was not ruled by the People's Republic of China.
Oh God!
Yeah,
You guys
and then,
are delusional,
and then
man.
It was the Qing dynasty.
You're delusional.
And then it's the hiving of that.
You don't try to do this
Of
balancing act with
what
us, man.
was debate
You can't do
was
anything
never
on Taiwan.
recognized by
You've
China.
been threatening the
And
whole
then
world
it's
about
60
Taiwan for the last 100 years. That's the hope on which Xi Jinping has become dictator for life. He has appointed
don't mix
himself
Taiwan
ruler
with
of China
Taiwan.
till he is
It's not a
alive.
issue.
You can't do a thing about Taiwan, and you're trying to lecture India on Arunachal Pradesh.
Taiwan dates back to even
You can't do
longer,
anything
to
on
Qing
Taiwan.
dynasty.
You can't do anything on Taiwan.
mix
Hear
the
it, you
two
can't do
issues
anything
together,
on
okay?
Taiwan. You'll keep talking about Taiwan.
Well,
You
you
can't
want
do
to talk
anything
about
on
Taiwan? I
Taiwan.
can talk about Taiwan.
Yeah, you can't do
okay?
anything on Taiwan. You've already compromised on Taiwan.
Do you
Sir,
want to
what
talk about
history
Taiwan?
are you talking about? We would like to know
Yeah,
your
come on. Yeah,
standpoint.
excellent.
What
Yeah, 1 minute.
history?
Prema, let's question him on history.
Yeah, what history? Because I have my family, my grandparents, we have all been Indian. When you say in Arunachal is part of China, I would like to know, do I have any voting rights in China? Do I have access to your public funds? Can I get pension in China? Can I get land? Would you give me land? Would you give me property in China? Do I have any of these? Do I vote for the Democratic of China? Do I speak Chinese? Do I even eat Chinese food at my home? Do I cook Indian food or do I cook Chinese food? Or speak to me in Chinese, sir. Speak to me in Chinese and let me answer you in Chinese and let's see if I'm Indian or Chinese. Because if history tells you that I should be Chinese, as the immigration officers have told me that you should apply for a Chinese passport because India doesn't own Arunachal Pradesh, I would like to answer. Okay, let me ask you the most basic question, sir. Arunachal Pradesh. What does Arunachal mean? Because if it's Chinese, you should know the meaning of the word. The state that you claim to be yours. What does Arunachal mean, sir?
Well, as I said, I mean, the fact
Is that a
remains that
Chinese
the
word,
China
sir?
does not recognize the Arunachal Pradesh as a province of India. Has never been. Not the People's
So how
Republic
many
of China.
tribes are there in
Not the
Arunachal
previous government.
Pradesh? How
And
many
that's because of
sub-tribes
the
are there in
legacy of
Arunachal
this.
Pradesh? Let me tell you, sir. 1 minute. Let me tell you, sir. You know nothing about history. I am from Assam. Okay? And Assamese as a language and Arunachali are very similar. I can speak to Prema in Arunachali right now. Because they sound similar, there are similar phonetic patterns, similar words. I can speak to Prema in Arunachali. She can speak to me in Assamese. Who are you to come in between? Who are you? Who are you? You have no right, no understanding of the region. You are nothing. You are sitting there in Hong Kong, unable to do anything about Taiwan, frustrated with your inability to stop Xi Jinping from becoming dictator for life. You're picking on Prema. Is this what a government of China is? What?
I'm your invited guest, okay? Show some respect.
No, I'm showing
Don't
you respect.
me.
Did you show respect to Prema? Did your government show respect to Prema? Did your government, General Bakshi, I think it's time for you to come in, sir. You've heard enough. You can give a lesson on history and military history and everything to these people. General Bakshi.
I am slightly baffled. Our Prime Minister had gone to Tianjin. Both the nations felt it was time for a reset, right? And that is exactly what the leadership at the apex level tried to do, especially with the geopolitical environment all around us, and very specifically the attitude of Donald J. Trump, running amok, as it were, on the international stage. We thought it was time to do a reset of our relations, time to do a calculation of who is with us, who's against us. And therefore, the Russia, India, China triangle got a very, very prominent boost. The whole world saw the three major powers of Asia coming together. Therefore, it is all the more extremely surprising for us as to why just a few months later we should have this kind of an incident. The young lady presented her passport at the commencement of the journey. If there was a problem that you had such a serious problem with the passport, it should have been told to her there and then itself. He would have taken a different flight, changed her routes, whatever. She would have taken prophylactic action. But you can't let a person come into your territory and then, as an afterthought, start harassing the poor lady. She's quite distraught. She's had such a harrowing experience. If you were put through this, I'm sure, doctor, you would be equally distraught. I mean, it's not her fault where she was born. And I think she has very cogently summarized the case for you. Her father, her grandfather, her grandparents, they've all been Indian citizens, considered Indian citizens. She very pertinently asked you, do I have voting rights in China? Can I get a Chinese pension? Can I get my pay from China? Those are the facts of life. Those are the facts of life. But what we in India are very surprised, Doctor, is why this should happen just months after Tianjin. Is there something more to it? Please, and that is extremely important. Is there something more to it that we
Absolutely there is.
do not
Absolutely there is. No doubt there is,
know?
General
If there
Bakshi.
is something more to
No,
it,
no,
then we
Saurabh.
don't know.
Yeah,
We
I'll tell you,
need to carry
the
out the
centerpiece,
same check.
sir, if you allow me, Arnab, just a quick observation here. The centerpiece of Chinese foreign policy under Mr. Xi has been to diminish India's growth, to take on India, to limit our growth in whatever way possible. Here he faces somebody like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has made sure that India's foreign policy has not only gained in stature, but in influence as well. And that's something that he cannot fathom. So on one hand, the Chinese strategy is that they try to engage you with this sweet talk, and that's what happened in Tianjin, but then they will backstab you. Prime Minister, right at the outset, offered a handshake, a hand of friendship when he invited Xi Jinping to Ahmedabad. And then what happened? Galwan happened, Doklam happened. So, you've seen a pattern of sorts, and you cannot never trust the Chinese. They will always be your adversary. India has developed a spine. It's in our national and strategic interest to make sure that we continue to dominate over China and continue to demonstrate this resolve that
Anyway,
we will
this
not.
has also happened at a time when we have shown a little bit of our military prowess in the military exercises across
In the war against-
along the
in Pakistan.
eastern and northeastern
Chinese-
borders very
Chinese were
strongly.
fighting.
So I think unless China wants a deliberate escalation, we'll have to watch very closely what they do. To Prema, we're so proud of you for the way you've held yourself together, proud of our government for standing by her, and very proud of the fact that you, after so many years working in the UK, are proudly carrying your Indian passport. All this is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for this.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला।